Now, I don't think this thing actually needs any introductions, but just in case you were wondering. Upper frontal plate of a mouse. Angled. Yeah. Hello you sexy beasts and welcome back to the War Thunder patch 1.67 dev server. This is the FV4005 and oh my god. If you have been living under a rock for the past couple of days, this gun you are seeing is a 183mm cannon. Yes, that is bigger than the KV2. This thing now takes a spot as the new biggest gun in the game. And quite frankly, I have a feeling it is going to remain in that spot for a long time, if not forever. The only thing that I can see having a bigger caliber than this gun would be the Sturmtiger, which I don't think we'll ever see. So, how do you do a straight face first impressions of the FV4005? Well, let's start off by saying that this is the pretty much top of the line tank destroyer of the Brits, just before the Conway, just before the swing fire. At battle rating 6.7 and rank 4, this thing has only 12 rounds of ammunition. Yes, this gun does not carry many rounds, and as such you will not be able to really carry games in this thing. Thankfully, you do actually get a machine gun coaxially, which you can use to spot enemies, which can be useful in between your massive reload times, which you're going to touch on a little bit later. Now, the gun actually handles pretty well. It is a -7 depression and 15 degrees elevation. Not too bad. Now, arcade mode, actually let's go into realistic mode just to take a look at the turret traverse. It's also not too bad, 18 degrees per second. The turret traverse, at least in realistic mode, is not too bad either. 18 degrees per second for something so massive that is quite acceptable. Now keep in mind this is with a fully upgraded tank and crew, so your experience may be different, but it's not all that bad. Now the armor is, well... Let's start off with the good bits. The hull itself is actually quite decently armored. 76mm, sloped, which gives you between 110 to 120mm effective armor on the lower plate, and 140 to 150 on the upper plate. Side armor, you have the massive tracks and this 1mm Seitenschürzen, which is not Seitenschürzen in the bridge, but you get the point. You have 50mm side armor and 38 on the back. Not the best armor, but definitely not the worst around. Well, the problem is no one in their right mind is ever going to shoot at your hull, because your turret only has 14mm of armor all around. This thing can be penetrated by 50 caliber ammunition. And of course it doesn't help that all of your crew sits in the turret pretty much. The only thing that actually sits in this massive hull, which look at this empty space in the hull. The only thing that sits here is the driver. Everyone else, your gunner, your commander and your 2 loaders sit in the turret, and as such, if you face anything that has even a single 50 caliber machine gun, you're going to die very quickly. And it's not like you can really hide this thing. I mean, look at the size. Comparing this to, for example, the Tetrarch, the Tetrarch by itself is about the height of the hull of the FV4005. Never mind this big massive turret. So, what makes this gun so special? Well, apart from the absolutely massive size, as you can see there are no shell types to unlock, because this HESH shell is the only one you get. And it's the absolutely most insane and most powerful HESH shell, and actually shell in general, we've seen in the game so far. Biggest mass at 72 kilograms, a decent muzzle velocity of 716 meters per second, and a penetration of 275 millimeters, regardless of range, regardless of angle. I don't think there's a single tank in this game that can reliably resist a shot of this thing. Even the mouse, as you saw, we went for the upper frontal plate, angled, without any problems. Now of course you do compensate for that awesome firepower with some drawbacks, and the main drawback is the weapon reload. 43 second base reload, 33 second with a fully upgraded crew. This is quite massive and is going to be the decision between life and death in this tank. This is one of those very few tanks where I really really recommend getting crew training just because the massive 10-second difference in between your shots. But you know me, enough looking at this thing sitting pretty in the hangar. How does it actually perform in battle? Again, disclaimer, dev server, you know the drill by now. Mostly going to be bots. Hopefully we are going to face some IS-6s. I really want to use this thing against an IS-6 today. Now we couldn't really have gotten a worse map if we wanted to, could we? Now one thing to notice with the F4005 is the turret is not completely traversable. Look at that. This is the maximum angle you have to the right. This is the maximum angle you have to the left. You cannot turn the turret around in a hassle. Now, of course in arcade mode you can simply turn the whole tank around, but given that the chassis is so long, I can see this thing having trouble responding to threats on its side when it's in realistic mode. And of course keep in mind that, well, having only 14mm of armor in the compartment that represents 4/5 out of your crew, you are not going to survive too long in this thing once you get spotted. And look at this. This thing is as tall as the houses on this map. So as you can expect, stealth is not going to be a strong point of this tank. How about firepower, however? How was that not a kill? Okay, we are in arcade mode, so he probably is literally repairing his crew right now, replenishing his crew right now. Keep in mind, in arcade mode, you have the automatic crew replenishment right on your spot. But did you see how much damage we did to the Tiger H1 with this single hit? Not even well aimed, that was like on the top of the turret. And we absolutely obliterated the thing. Now this being a HESH shell, we can't really go through stuff like this, through soft cover. But we can finish off the Tiger while it finishes us back off again. Let's take a look at the X-ray. And yeah, did you see that? Did you see that? An almost impossible angle, but due to this thing having absolutely no armor on the top, it still went through and it blew up the massive ammo racks. 30-second reload. This is a major drawback of the tank, as is to be expected of course, given the absolute insane power that this gun has. But you're not going to carry many games with this thing, especially if you are facing off against multiple enemies alone. You are screwed in this thing, don't be mistaken. You are screwed if you face yourself against multiple enemies. You simply don't have the fire rate. I am tempted to shoot through. Aircraft is trying to shoot through us. Not good. Should we go for the Panzer III? I think the Panzer III is a bot, so we're not going to go for that. SCRV has just fired. Fine, let's go for the Panzer III. Let's wait for the reload. Yeah, he's probably going to die. Yep, he died. I'm tempted to go after the SCRV-81. The problem is, well, we have a couple of tactical decisions. Now, given that this thing is a HESH shell, and given that it has absolutely massive penetration, no matter where we hit him, we're going to pretty much destroy him. Even if we don't do it in one shot by, well, given that this is arcade mode, even if we don't destroy him in one shot, we're still going to massively cripple him. Fuck it, let's go for it. Hit us and boom! This, ladies and gentlemen, is the new definition of derp tank. Move away all of your 150mm, all of your 152mm guns. They are gnomes compared to this massive thing. And I've actually quite noticed this change in game, really. Gaijin has, with this patch, Gaijin is going to release a 150mm derp howitzer for the Germans at low tier as well, similar to the whole row. And it seems like the 150mm cannons are all moving down in rank. Well, except for this thing. How did that not kill him? That's the problem with arcade mode. I might actually recommend using this thing in realistic mode simply because you might be able to hide it ever so slightly better than you do in arcade mode. I mean, honestly, everyone knows where we are. The aircraft are all going after us. And we are about to die. Well, how is that for a size comparison? This thing is about as tall, if not slightly taller than a mouse. Also, lads, I'm sorry, but we definitely win in the cannon department. So the last thing I want to test out before ending off with the conclusion on this tank is, can we actually one-shot a mouse from the front? Now, as we shown before, we do definitely have more than enough penetration to go through the hull front of the mouse. But I want to see if it actually has enough penetrating power to actually one-shot a mouse. Interestingly, no. Now we can see the effect for the HESH shell by having the hull slightly broken. But it seems like the HESH penetration doesn't actually have enough, well, the fragment penetration doesn't have enough to go through all the way through the tank. We only killed the two frontal operators, frontal crewmen, which means that the entire turret crew is still fine and dandy and ready to shoot at us. So, what if we shoot at the crew in the turret? Interestingly, again, it didn't seem to kill the crew actually. Now it might have just been the kill view that showed the ammo racks exploding before doing any damage to the crew. But I really want to see if I can actually damage the crew and disable the gun, if not one-shot it immediately. Well, there you go. You can definitely one-shot a mouse from the front, however it's due to an ammo rack, which means, depending on how reliable this gun can actually ammo rack stuff, it might make or break the tank. Because let's be honest here, if the turret crew survives the first shot, you are dead. 40mm of armor, he can shoot you with the secondary. He can shoot you with HE and he's going to absolutely wreck you. So, final conclusions on the FV4005. Or well, this preview of the FV4005. Keep in mind, their server, things are bound to change. But, is this thing actually going to be effective in battle? Is it actually going to bring a change to the game meta? Is it actually going to strengthen British tank teams? Honestly, no. This thing is not going to be competitive. Whilst the gun is extremely powerful and can delete a tank, at any range, at any angle, from any point of the map, it has too many drawbacks. It is not the most mobile tank, it has absolutely no armor turret. This thing can be penetrated by HE shells. Keep that in mind. Machine gun fire, HE shells, anything will destroy this tank very, very quickly. Couple that with the absolutely massive reload of about 43 seconds stock, and you have yourself, and of course, only having 12 rounds of ammo capacity, and you have yourself a tank that can be very powerful in the right situations. This is definitely the perfect tank destroyer for dealing with the most heavy tanks on the enemy team. But if you have more than one or two of these tanks in your team, you are probably going to lose, because this thing just cannot carry games, it just cannot effectively battle against other tanks. But you know what? For the pure fan factor, definitely. This thing is a doom cannon. It is the definition of a derp cannon, and as such, no matter what you do, even if you lose all of your games, you are going to have fun with this cannon. Simply because of that sound and watching your enemies explode in a cloud of fire, essentially. So lads, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you did, do leave it a like rating, comment down below what you think of the FV4005, and maybe what you want to see. We might do a battle of the derp cannons very soon, given that we are getting some new ones. Stay tuned for that, so subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We're going to finish off these reviews probably with the T-34, the new American heavy tank. I have a feeling I'm not going to be very positive about that one. I sadly do not have access to the IS-6, so I cannot give you any opinion on that, although we do have gameplay of that in the RE251 video, which has gone up early today, so check that out if you want to see some IS-6s on the enemy team. We actually managed to take one down. And yeah, stay tuned for the T-34. As always lads, my name is MikeGoesBoom, and thank you for watching.
You can lift your head up to the sky, take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines with your shattered frame of mind. Or instead you could always stay. We can wait right here and play until somehow you can find